Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Tokushikai Inside Look podcast. This episode is brought to you by our amazing patrons over at Patreon, who have generously donated as little as a cup of coffee to as much as the cost of a bowl of ramen per month. You can find episode videos for these interviews as well as deeper dives into other subject matters at patreon.com/Tokushikai Canada. If you are enjoying this work, please consider supporting us.
So hi everybody who's listening, and hi Patrick. I'm Jessica from New Zealand, and I live in Saitama, which is north of Tokyo in Japan. And I've lived in Japan about 17 years. And yeah, I came after I graduated my master's degree at Auckland University, and I just came over to work. But I ended up getting married and having children in that order. And yeah, it's turned out to be 17. It's like a blink of an eye, 17 years. Yeah. Yeah. So, well, as you people have the image of New Zealand as being really open and really green, like lots of wide spaces. I was blessed with a house with a really big backyard, like climbing trees. My dad built like a really small house in the back of the backyard, so we could like have adventures there. And actually, I have photos from my birthdays. My mom would sew these costumes because I would have like dress up birthday parties when I was really small, and I would be Robin Hood, and I would be a pirate, and I would be like Peter Pan. So we have like these different kind of characters, not quite what you'd imagine for a girl, perhaps. So from a very young age, a lot of my friends were boys, and I was into like bow and arrow and like playing, with toy guns and that kind of thing. So I was really like tomboyish from a really early age.
So we're going to get into the Kyudo in a little bit, but when you were younger, did you have any like very disciplined pursuits, something that you would do every week, something either an interest or something that your parents put you in that was outside of just regular schooling?
Yeah, I had several different things, but a lot of them were very short-lived. It's kind of violin, piano, tap dancing, ballet, swimming. I'm the eldest of 3 children, but for some reason I was blessed with all these different extracurricular activities. My mom liked to, let me try anything that I was interested in, I think. In high school, I ended up doing rhythmic gymnastics for most of high school, which is, it was fun. But as soon as I entered university, I stopped.
Could you talk a little bit about rhythmic gymnastics? Like what were the things that you were practicing? What kind of athletic ability was required for something like that?
It was, well, flexibility and strength. And you dance to music using different apparatus. So rope and ball and hoop. You have to master, and ribbon, you have to master all the different types of apparatus. And you need to perform certain movements within a certain period of time to the music, like throwing the apparatus in the air and like tumbling, like regular artistic gymnastics, like mat, and then catching it at the end. And so after a couple of years, I became proficient at it, but not really, really amazing. But I found it quite fun, like especially the social aspect of it. Training together with other people was really nice and really fun for me.
Okay, so like both athletic kind of physical ability as well as some hand-eye coordination that you needed to have. Okay.
Yeah.
What did you go to university for, and then how did you get into the specific master's program that you chose?
Yeah, I really wanted to study a professional degree, for example, like engineering, medicine, like this kind of thing. However, like academically, my grades weren't like enough to be able to get into really, really those amazing courses. However, I found a town planning course at Auckland University, which is it's a 5 years undergraduate degree. So I managed to get the grades good enough to be able to get in there. And once I started, it was so amazing and so interesting that the master's was an extra like 1 year. So I did 6 years to get an undergrad and a postgrad. And yeah, it's so fabulous and so amazing. And all my classmates pretty much went on to work either for planning firms, like private firms, or for like the city council or local government, regional government. And here's me like, okay, I'm gonna go and live in Japan. So I kind of left it like right after graduating, handed in my thesis, and I was off. Like, and I haven't sort of come back to anything town planning related at all. So it's kind of like my life sort of changed overnight, if you will.
I imagine it wasn't like, oh, I'm just graduated in city planning and then suddenly, oh, let's change course and go to Japan. So when did that idea of going to Japan started emerging in your head? And then what was the process in making that happen?
So on the very first day of university, I met a girl called Naomi, and her dad is Japanese and her mom is a New Zealander. So she invited me on that first year at university, she invited me to come over to Japan with her to go back to her dad's Jikka, which is their family area. And it was in Himeji, so in the Kansai area of Japan. And I'd never been to Japan before. New Zealanders like to take vacations, holidays around, like Australia, Fiji, Vanuatu, like quite close by. And Asia was sort of like, in the Asian region, it was the first sort of taste that I had. So I was really like not sure what to expect. However, when I went over there, it was the middle of winter. New Zealand at the time was the middle of summer. So the seasons are opposite. And then Japanese winter is like, it's real. It's real winter. New Zealand, where I was living, Auckland, winter is like, it doesn't snow. And you don't need a down jacket. It's pretty mild compared to, I got like the real thing. And then, it's like December, it's Christmas, and it's really cold. It's like the movies. So I felt like, it's a totally different world, really exciting. I rode on a bullet train. I went to karaoke, did some songs. I had all you can drink, which in New Zealand, it's hard to get that kind of a service. It's very cheap. I had a really awesome time, and it made me think like, yeah, I want to come back here and stay for a bit longer. So eventually each year I would go back with her and ended up staying longer and longer. So when it came time to graduate my master's degree, I'd already been to Japan 4 or 5 times, I think, in total. So yeah, it was a calculated thing, leaving to go to Japan, definitely. Yeah.
So you had a few experiences before, so it wasn't like diving right in and then suddenly living there. I've heard so far that there's people, let's say, when you actually move to Japan and you're living there day to day, that it takes away of some of the mysticism that normally you had when you first imagined Japan, or when you're a tourist. It's very different than being like a local. Do you have any experiences like that? Could you talk about what was that switch feeling like?
Definitely, I think there is a large difference, and that difference is being in Japan for the purpose of work or being in Japan for the purpose of vacation. So when you're on holiday, when you're on vacation in Japan, it's like time restrictions and, you're exploring, you can just go at your own pace with whoever you're with. But when you're there for work, you need to start work at a specific time, and you need to be able to navigate the railway system, the subway system in a different language to get to work on time. So it's like first job out of university, living by myself for the first time in my life. Plus, I got to get to work on time. And the train announcement is saying something, and I don't know what it says, but the train stopped. So it's like, I think that's a really big difference. It was just dealing with the day-to-day, like my regular life, however, in a different language. And being on vacation, it's quite fun and really carefree. However, having work, there's responsibilities, and you need to pay your rent. So working is very important. Just really different. you can't kind of compare the two. Definitely holiday and vacation in Japan is super fun and I love it. But work is not, it's not as bad as I'm making it sound. Work is really fun too. And yeah, it's just difficult to summarize. However, the two are just very different. Yeah.
So we've had some people that moved to Japan for the purpose of training in their martial art. Others moved there and then very shortly they found something and they just kept at it. In your case, you were living there for quite a while before you actually really focused on it. So could you talk about those in-between years? Like, were you looking at it and just didn't have time, or were you experimenting with some other stuff? What was happening during?
Yeah, so about probably the 6th or the 7th year that I was in Japan, I had a child. I got married and had children. I had my first child, and we were at like Hanami, which is the cherry blossom viewing in my local area. And we went to a park that's really famous for its beautiful cherry blossoms. So we're going there, and there's a dojo there, like right in the middle of the park. So I had this this fabulous chance, so that I'm watching them doing their keiko, their practice, and I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of women, and they're shooting bows and arrows. And at the time, I just stopped and watched them because I was just like mystified. It was so cool what they were doing, and at the same time, watching them, I was feeling really calm. It was just really, really relaxing to watch. So that was sort of a big like moment for me. And I thought, like, I really want to try to do this. However, at the time I had no Japanese and I didn't know what martial art it was that they were doing. So that was about 11 years ago. So yeah, it took a while from seeing Kudo, knowing what it was, to be able to research it and to find a class in my area in Japanese. It took a very long time. And in between that time, I was having children and working. So the timing wasn't quite right. And also I couldn't find the different classes and how to actually start. The information was unbelievably difficult to find.
So when the timing came right, when the information actually became clear, what was that instance? Like, was it?
I was introduced to a beginner's class through a friend. So I had a radio job, and the personality, the DJ, he used to do Kudo when he was in high school. And so he said, hey, like, what interests you? Like, what should we talk about on the radio show? And I said, actually, like, lately I'm re-remembering that I really want to do Kudo. So if you know anyone, and he's like, yeah, of course, I used to do it. So I'll, bring some of my buddies and we can talk after the radio show. So one of the people introduced me to a class in my local area, and I joined and I went there, and that was the beginner's class. Usually in Japan, dojos only hold beginner's classes once a year. And if you don't join that beginner's class, you can't just come at any time of the year and start. You have to go through their specific program. And yeah, so if you miss that, you cannot start, is one thing I learned. So yeah, I joined the class, and it was pretty intensive. I think it was 3 times a week for 3 hours each time. So for someone with 3 children, like, trying to manage that, it was tricky, but it was so much fun. It was like, yeah, this is finally, I found like what, it just felt really right. And it felt like it was kind of a really special moment for me to join finally. I was so happy.
Was there any acknowledgement or kind of different feeling being a foreigner going to a Kyudo dojo and starting?
Well, yeah, so that's one of the things that kind of, it stopped me in that first instance more than 10 years ago, was that perhaps foreigners aren't allowed, and also foreigners who don't speak Japanese particularly well are not going to be that accepted, is one of the things that sort of stopped me from looking more proactively. However, on joining, of course, my Japanese level had improved a lot, so I have no problem speaking Japanese. However, it was fine. No one was like, oh, treated me different to the other people at all. I had a really good experience. So yeah, it was really nice.
So a lot of dojos do the beginners kind of slightly different. Some will have you focus on makiwara for like the whole year. Some would just work on tai hai. What was your experience in being a beginner there for the first year?
So I was the class actually lasted for I think it was about a month, and then they were like, you're going to be matomai, so in front of the target, within 2 weeks. So they were quite like fast moving. We learned Hasetsu, so the different movements for Kudo. We practiced with nothing, first of all, and then we practiced with yumitaro, which is a small, really weak sort of bamboo bow. So it's just snapping the elastic. So that was just practicing hanare. And then, yeah, we went out onto the yamichi, which is right where the arrows fly when you're shooting. So we'd go really close to the target, and then we just started shooting. And then they would bring us back right into the shajo, back into the dojo when they thought we could shoot the 28-meter distance. So that was in the space of 2 weeks, we were there shooting matomai, which is very fast moving compared to, I've heard stories of other people that have been at dojos for a year and they're still on makiwara. So it really, really depends on the place that you join as to how fast you progress.
Yeah, 2 weeks. That's incredible. Like,
yeah, actually, I joined another beginners class. So that first beginners class, it was a little far. Actually, it's in Saitama, but in Saitama in the region, in the prefecture. Then the one I joined after, it was like around the corner from my house, about a 10-minute drive. And on the first day, they had people who had never touched a bow before. They were like matomai on the first day. So I was like, wow, this is even faster than the other one. Like, that's so amazing. They just wanted to get people like, just get up and go. Like, they just get ready and get used to holding the bow and arrow. And yeah, it was even more fast paced. So it just differs so much depending on where you go.
They probably had a lot of cheap arrows too, otherwise
yeah,
they wouldn't be shooting
definitely. It. Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I'd imagine like you said that you kind of wanted to do this 10 years ago. You were looking at it. When you started, was there any point where you're like, oh, let me just try it out and then I'm going to go? Or were you really full on as soon as you started?
Oh yeah, like definitely. So as soon as I found that, I mean, I went at the time when I was looking, I went to my local, it's like local kuyakusho, my local government, and I was like, please tell me Kudo classes, like, and everyone's looking at me like I'm crazy. Go to the community sporting area where they have information of all the different sports events and clubs that you can join for adults, and they're just like, Kudo, and it's like, what? So even Japanese people themselves, people that are in charge of that kind of the martial arts and sports promotion, they're not sure either. Like, that's how difficult it is to find information. But yeah, once I actually found a place to join and I got started, it was like full on, and I haven't stopped pretty much since. Yeah.
So you had the local place, and then you had this other place that's farther away. When did you realize, and when did you start participating in things outside beyond just your local dojo, like the big seminars or tournaments or any other events that you've been to?
I once I passed shodan, which is the first grading that you do. Once I passed shodan, I actually before passing shodan, I was in New Zealand and I met the kaicho, so the president of the New Zealand Kudo Federation. Just by chance, somebody said, hey, Auckland has keiko happening on a Friday night. Do you want to come? And at the time I was mudan, so I had no grading qualifications, but I said, yeah, like, I'm so interested. How's Auckland's Kudo? Like, they have Kudo? I didn't even realize. So it's just like, yeah, I'm down there. And I met the president and he was awesome. He was so nice. And then when I finally got round to having shodan, I kept in contact with them, and it turns out they had a seminar happening. That was happening in this year, so 2020 in January. And I got invited there as a guest. Like, I couldn't believe it. They're like, come to New Zealand and you can participate in our seminar. And it's a 10-year anniversary. So they had dinner celebration, and I just helped out with translation and taking photos. And yeah, that was like international Kyudo, going to New Zealand and doing Kyudo in New Zealand, like my own country. It was pretty big for me. Yeah.
So now that you've practiced it for a little bit, when did you start looking at trying to promote it? Like, I that's how I kind of heard about your work.
So, yeah. So definitely, like, once I passed my first grading, I knew from before passing my first grading that I wanted more people to know about it. And I got the most amazing response when I posted on social media. People are like, where can I start? Like, what is this? How can I do it? You know, people overseas and also within Japan, even Japanese people themselves are like, I'm so interested to start. So I was like, wow, nobody really knows. Like, everybody else wants information too. So I figured I would start, you know, just promoting unofficially. And well, I passed a grading, and it helps. The more grades you pass, as to the more information you can give, and the more people will listen. So even just being second grade, you know, second dan, it's still quite low down, to be honest. But yeah, 3 years experience is not that much. However, it's just getting so many questions every day about where can I start, and you know, like what is your bow, and what are your arrows, and where can I buy them, and how can I buy kake, which is the Kudo glove, and like, it's people, they want the information. So I'm just like, okay, let's go. Like, I'm gonna tell you about Kudo. You want to know? So magazines would come to interview me, and New Zealand media would come to interview me, and so it all just kind of, it just worked out like that. And people want the information, and I'm gonna give it to them. So yeah, it's kind of I don't know, it's just kind of happened naturally, I guess.
When people started asking you like questions like these, was there anything surprising, or was there anything that you were wondering, okay, this is something that I thought people should know already, but they didn't?
Yeah, especially archery related questions, like what are the differences between archery and Kudo? So I've practiced archery a couple of times. However, people assume that it's the same as archery, or the same as like longbow archery. So people who confuse it, or they, especially the Hasetsu is very slow when performed correctly. It takes time. So people who kind of say, oh, if this was in a war, you know, you wouldn't be alive anymore, or like, sort of people who misunderstand that it's not for combat, it's for relaxation, and for, well, in competition times, it's for a competition. And yeah, just that, the misunderstanding that it's, like combative, because people have these ideas of martial arts as being, how can I say, like, well, yeah, we fight against each other, or it's used, you're using weapons, so people automatically think it's like for combat. However, yeah, it's just that's, I get quite a lot of like, wow, you're moving so slow. It's like, yeah, I'm sorry. That's the way you're supposed to do it. Yeah, anyway, especially archery people, they're like, wow, you're drawing the bow so slowly. Like, other people, they like, watching you is really relaxing, and that's so nice to hear. I really like that. But yeah, it's just, there's those differences between archery and Kudo. It's, yeah, there's quite large differences there, and some people, they, yeah, so I tell them about the differences when they say that kind of thing. Anyway, yeah, so to summarize, yeah.
In terms of your experience with those two, how does that, like you said, even when you're young, you're playing with bows and arrows, or pretending you're playing with bows and arrows. Do you still try out or dabble in Western archery, or is Kudo the only thing.
No, if I had a chance, I would so be interested, especially having the knowledge of Kudo that I do now. I was like Girl Scouts, probably middle school was when I did archery in New Zealand. So it's been a long time. However, starting with Kudo, the regular size bows, I've had a lot of different opportunities thanks to my teachers, and then thanks to different, I don't know, hankyu, so a shorter size Japanese bow where you can just go in casually and you can sit and shoot, and kids can do it as well. So the more I learn there are so many actually different types of Japanese bow, different sizes and different uses. So I am actively trying to find different places where I can try all these different sort of bows and arrows, and different to Kudo, however, still Japanese bows. So I am kind of mixing it up in the Japanese bow area. However, I'd be so interested in trying archery so that I can compare the two.
So even outside of Kyudo, I'm not very much aware of what other things there is in Japanese archery. Could you give some description of what are like the shorter bow? And then I think you also mentioned that you did some yabusame, so that'd be interesting to get into.
Yeah, that'd be so cool. Okay, so one that I'm really, really excited about is called hankyu. And you sit down. The difference is you don't stand when you shoot. You sit down, and the bow is a lot weaker, probably between 3 and 6 kilograms. And the arrows are very, very, very long. And yeah, you can sit and shoot, and it's okay for children to sit as well. So it's a really good sort of an opportunity for kids and people who have never done Kudo before to have like a little bit of a feel for the Japanese bow. The sizes are a lot shorter and the arrows are a lot longer and the bow is weaker. So this makes it very like great for people who have never shot a bow before to try. So it leads to people thinking like, oh, I like this, and sitting to shoot is good. So maybe I can try Kudo. So in a way, it helps people sort of flow towards trying Kudo as well, which I think is really, really great. And then, yeah, yabusame.
Sorry, just a question on the hankyu. Is that like an official practice, or is it just something like a yumitaro where you use it to practice and then the expectation is to transition?
The dojos that I've been to, so they're, we could say like shops. They're like businesses run by Kyudoka, so people who are real Kyudo practitioners. However, as their work, they've opened up their own hankyu dojo. So it's not run by a certain organization. These kind of like attractions, can I say, like a kind of I don't know, I'm like forgetting my English, but basically it's unofficial, these ones that I've been to. However, there is a hankyu renmei, an organization in Japan, and they do serious taikai, they do serious competitions. However, I haven't had a chance to participate because a lot of them are sort of out of Tokyo. And they do zasha and taihai. They have certain dosa as well. So really like they have their own movements and their own hasetsu. So the hankyu that I've had the opportunity to try has been really like, it's open to everybody kind of thing. And it's, yeah, sort of an unofficial one. However, they use proper hankyu bow and proper, like the equipment is correct. And they even have like azuchi, so the soil where the targets get put on, the actual dojo is beautifully designed. So yeah, it's just, it's different to the real, so difficult to explain, but yeah, it's not, hold on a sec. I'm like digging myself in a hole. The ones that I've been to are businesses. And, but yeah, I would really love to try the real, I'd really love to try hankyu and sort of out of Tokyo. someday. Yeah, sorry. It basically like it's, yeah, the ones that I've been to are businesses, but they're hankyu dojo, and they do use the correct equipment. However, there is a hankyu kai, so a Zenkoku hankyu kai, but I don't think that they're a part of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Oh my God.
Well, it's just like you have sport and Olympic archery, and then you have like these play areas that are for people to try it out, and it's not totally serious, but it's just an experience. And then if you wanted to, you can pursue like the official stuff.
Yeah.
Somewhere else. Okay.
Yeah.
So moving on to yabusame, just wondering, also the other picture of people from New Zealand besides like the outdoors is like riding horses. Did you have that experience when you were back there?
Yes.
And then
Yes, I did. So from middle school, every year my mom would let me do horse trekking, like along the beach, and we do like horse riding. So quite often, several times a year, I'd be on a horse for like hours at a time, sorry. So yeah, I had experience with horses, and I really loved horses. And when I got this chance when coronavirus first started in Japan, everything kind of stopped, and I was working from home a lot, and I came across a place that would let you learn a type of yabusame called sports yabusame. So the difference between sports yabusame and traditional yabusame, the ones we see on YouTube, the ones that are promoted as in Japan as the traditional yabusame, that's the one that is ryuha. So it's like usually Takeda Ryu or Ogasawara Ryu are the two main traditional yabusame schools in Japan. So sports yabusame is another like offshoot. It doesn't have ryuha, so there's no how can I say, reigi saho is special movements, special ways to shoot, things that are performed before and after you ride the horse, special ways to dress the horse, the clothes you wear. There's none of that. So it's very, well, sports yabusame. So it's free from all the customary related traditions. So to become, a traditional yabusame rider, we're talking more than 10 years, more than 15 years. It takes a very, very long time. However, sports yabusame, on the first day when you go there, they will let you shoot and ride. So it's very like, when I saw this, because I wanted to learn so bad, when I saw this, I was like, yes, I'm going to go there and I'm going to try this. And having the Kudo experience was great, and having horse riding experience, it was like so much fun. And I ended up going once a month, and I've been going now for about 6 or 7 months, and I have an exam in a couple of weeks to get a grading for sports yabusame. So I'm super excited. Hopefully I pass. Fingers crossed.
When you first started, what was the process in like teaching someone to begin something like this? You said you're almost immediately on the horse. What was their process? And then what did you find being, having the advantage of riding before and also doing Kudo before? What came more easily to you?
So what they do is they have bow instruction. So for people that have never held a Japanese bow before, they'll explain about the history of the bow, about yabusame arrows, which are a little different to Kudo arrows. And then they'll show how to knock the arrow, the way to stand, and how to shoot. So a yabusame style of shooting is very different to Kudo, because the target moves past you. So you have to sort of be able to knock the arrow within a couple of seconds and shoot it. So you learn this way of shooting in the first part of the course on the very first day. And then after lunch, they take you outside. It's like in the middle of the mountains in Odawara. It's the most beautiful place ever. And yeah, we go outside, big targets, and wooden horse, mokuba. So you can get on the horse. It doesn't move. However, they shake it. So you feel like you're going to fall off. You practice shooting at the targets. So once you've got your shooting sort of, it's feeling like you're comfortable with it. The afternoon is spent riding the horses. So you'll hold your bow and arrow, and they'll put the arrow on the string already for you, and you'll be like walking. The horse will just walk. So we'll be walking first of all past the target, and you should be shooting, and you're like scrambling to find your next arrow and put it on so that you're ready for the next target. So it's very slow paced the first time. However, if the teachers think, you know, you're up to, you know, going a bit faster, so they'll run with the horse. So the very first time, I mean, we've got the riding helmet on, people wear padding if they need to, the staff hold the horse and run with it. So it's very safe. And yeah, I found it that first day, it was just really easy. So the staff just let me ride by myself, it was great. I mean, having a little horse riding experience, being able to control a horse without holding the reins is a little bit more tricky than I thought. But yeah, just being able to shoot, having Kyudo experience, being used to holding a bow and arrow, it made so much difference. Yeah, I could pick it up a lot quicker than probably if I hadn't had Kyudo experience, it would have taken me a while, I think.
I can also feel that, like, for the people that thought Kyudo, oh, it's going so slowly, it's not really action, but they wanted to have some adrenaline. See, riding on a horse and having someone just start running with it, that seems like an alternative you can take.
Right, it was it's totally different to Kyudo. So I I really love that part. I mean, combining horses with shooting a bow and arrow, that's like the most awesome thing ever. So yeah, it was so cool, and just really adrenaline rush, something so different to anything I'd ever experienced before. But you know what, looking on the internet, every culture has their horseback archery. Yeah, so just like seeing, oh, there you go, this country has it too, and seeing every, like, Mongolian traditions, Russian traditions, like all different countries having their specific horseback archery, and seeing that. I mean, England, horseback archery is a thing too. Like every country has it. It's so interesting to see so many people around the world performing this beautiful thing called horseback archery. It's very cool.
I like the fact that, like, you've helped us realize that there's this sport version and then there's the really ceremonial version, and knowing that if we wanted to try it out, there are these places. Yeah, so really hope that you continue to do this and to share. Not like Kyudo now is more well known around the world, but doing this type of yabusame, it'd be cool if you can keep sharing it and showing us.
Yeah, definitely. I will share my journey. So I'm trying to make YouTube videos, and I'm trying to post on social media and just give information about it. But it's very important to make the difference between traditional yabusame and sports yabusame. So it's like, if you do search up sports yabusame, especially in Aomori, which is this one prefecture in Japan, the most amazing competitions they have, and yeah, they dress in the most amazing, most beautiful costumes. They take it super serious, so it's not like just for fun for them. It's like a very serious sporting activity and event. And yeah, just seeing that, it's like the most vibrant and amazing thing. So just definitely, if you're interested in it, just search sports yabusame, and there are so many places in Japan that will let you try. So yeah, when travel is okay again, and if you do get to come to Japan, please have a try. I mean, the people at my place, they speak English, so definitely it's very accessible for anybody. It doesn't matter about the amount of experience you've had.
Okay, yeah. For this next part, you send me some photos. I like to go through. I like to go through a couple of them just to get your take on why did you choose this photo as something meaningful, and describe what's inside it first. So
Okay.
because we're on a podcast, it's just audio only. So could you first describe the photo? Maybe just go in order.
Okay, so let's open up. Sorry for the wait. So I have the very left, I have a dojo picture, and then a target picture, a picture with 3 people, and then a picture of me. So just all of the photos are, for me, just a really quick grab of things that have been important since starting Kyudo.
So I see 2 different types of Kyudojos there. Could you talk about what they are, and the one where
Yeah.
there's the 3 of you, and then the one that's just the dojo?
Okay, so the one that's just the dojo, that is the dojo that I belong to at the moment. And this dojo and my teacher were introduced via the New Zealand Kudo Federation. So this is where I have been for approximately 2 years. And this dojo is in Urawa, which is in Saitama, so quite close to my house. However, at the moment, they're fixing it. So the building is about 40 years old. And for the past year, I haven't been here. So it's so like, I see this photo and I'm like, I really want to go back. I think in February next year, it's going to reopen again. So yeah, this is just my home dojo, I think is the way to say it. This is my base. And yeah, I miss it. Looking at this photo makes me, want to hurry up and get back there. And then the one with the three people. So it is, these guys, they both have glasses on. So, okay, the tall one is Hiro, and then me in the middle, and then the other one is Roy. So we are this is an indoor dojo. So there's no open roof, and the grass is artificial. And this one is in Tokyo. So I'm here in this dojo once a week, and I run together with these guys. I run a group called You, Me, and Zen, which is a Kudo group available for anybody who wants to start Kudo.
Could you talk about the inception of that group, and like what was the reason for it, and then what have you done so far?
Sure. So just going back to that time in my life where I couldn't find any information, and I was kind of met with dead ends, and then I found it really hard once you started that you had to continue a certain amount of times a week, and if you missed it, they would get not really happy about it. It doesn't matter if you have kids, you're expected to go to a certain amount of practices a week, and there are quite a few issues with people starting and then maintaining their practice for Kyudo. So that was born out of those different things, finding the entrance to joining Kyudo, how to join. It's very tricky in Japan, even in Japan, to find the beginner's class. So we started it being available to anybody, and you don't have a minimum amount of times you have to go, and you don't have to have experience. Your equipment, you don't have to have anything. You can come just as you are. You don't have to wear hakama or the Kudo uniform. You can just shoot in your own clothes if you want. So it's very free from rules and pressure. So we have a lot of experienced archers, experienced Kudo practitioners come because their home dojo, their atmosphere is a bit scary. And sometimes they just want to go somewhere with no pressure. Sorry, that sounded weird. The more experienced artists come to us because their home dojo, there is different sort of pressures and it can be a bit stressful. It's nice to get a change of pace and come to a different dojo, like a friendly, open, you can shoot at your own pace. You don't have to do specific things. People like that change of atmosphere. And then we have beginners with no experience at all who have maybe they've just come to Japan. They're really interested to start, but they don't speak Japanese. So we have English and Japanese available for people who, depending on what language you speak. And Hiro is 5th dan, and he has a qualification in Kudo coaching. So he is our main teacher. And yeah, for people with no experience, he will teach you. Yeah, so it's just available for everyone. So that's kind of what we wanted, a like borderless Kyudo like club. Yeah.
Knowing that the Japanese have this very clear structure and it's very strict in terms of also when you start teaching and when you should feel like you can open a dojo, how did that discussion go along with these two guys? Because I'd imagine like their sensei might, or their senpai might have some issues with this. How did it work out for them?
So they, Roy and Hiro, they don't have teachers at the moment, both of them. So actually for them themselves as well, they needed somewhere to be also that that they could practice at without the pressure of without having different pressures and different things happening. So yeah, they are okay. Yeah, I think it turned out pretty fine, and it's not like, how can I say, it's not a business. So we're not doing the sessions and the lessons and the practices to make money off people. So if you look on websites, I don't know if I can say the name or not, but like Airbnb, the costs of just joining like a 2 or 3 hour like experience, it's very like upwards of $500 or $600 for a non-Japanese speaker, and we're like, oh no, I can't believe it. So you know, $10, just enough to cover the dojo rental fee. So we found a dojo that can be booked 3 hours at a time, and there's no renmei, there's no specific Kudo organization that's in there. It's free for anybody to use, this dojo that we use. Yeah, so we just book once a week and have our group activities happening there. So yeah.
Could you give a few more details in case there's people that are coming from overseas that are interested in, like where is it located? How do we contact?
Sure. Okay, so it is in Tokyo, in Kitaku, which is in Kita Ward, in a place called Akabane. And the station is Akabane Station or Shimo Station. So from the middle of Tokyo, you can get the Namboku line, and you can go straight to Shimo Station. Probably takes about 45 minutes, I think. It's yeah, it's about a 6-minute walk from the station in the Akabane Gymnasium. So it's a very nice new complex, and we have Instagram, and we have Twitter, and we have Facebook, and our name is You, Me, and Zen, and that is you like YOU, and me like ME, and Zen just ZEN.
Cool, thank you for that. So another photo you have here is the Kudo Nippon magazine.
Yeah, that was so nice. So this is the Kaicho of the New Zealand Kudo Renmei, the New Zealand Kudo Federation. This is Chris Coleman, and he is the one that I met the very first time when I came to Auckland, just by chance got to see their practice one Friday. And this is a photo that Hiro actually took when we went to the seminar in January this year. So this is Chris, the president, doing Embu. So this is one of his performances for the seminar. So yeah, it was a very serious moment, and the photo was really beautiful. Kudo Nippon is a magazine that I've been writing for about the past 6 months. I started writing, it's a Japanese Kudo magazine, but I started writing a regular, like an article called Kudo World Interview. So I'm finding people from around the world who are practicing, like Kudo practitioners, and I just send them off my questionnaire asking, you know, how did you get started? And they fill it out for me, and it gets published with their photo. And it's nice for, this magazine is very domestic. So it's all in Japanese. It's nice for domestic sort of people to have that, like, the little taste of international, like, wow, like, this person lives in Argentina and they love Kudo. This person lives in Brazil and they love Kudo. Like, this is a really cool glimpse to see, like, look how loved Kudo is all around the world. So that's the reason why I started, just to give Japanese people, Japanese readers, this, like, they always say it's like a minor, it's minor martial art. Kudo is so minor. It's like, man, actually, it's worldwide and it's gaining popularity year upon year. So this was kind of writing those articles just to show people, look, like, this country has their own dojo as well. So yeah, that's this was just I was really happy with this cover photo because yeah, Chris is really cool, and you know, he's a New Zealander too, so I'm glad that they chose it for the cover. But yeah, just one of the ways that I'm trying to promote Kudo.
What are other typical articles in that magazine?
More academic related ones, discussing like Ryuha, Honda Ryu, and how, like, the history of Honda Ryu, the shortened version, and it's like really sort of like academic kind of one, or things relating to physics and the use of bows. It's like really quite academic stuff. And when I saw it, I was like, hey, I can bring something, like, it's kind of a strange thing to say, but like lighthearted, something a little bit more lighthearted, something that appeals to more people, to everybody. And perhaps we can get like sales up a little bit of the magazine, and it will help to promote it. And yeah, we sold out this issue. I think just having the promotion on social media helped, I think, a lot, and getting, you know, younger readers. The thing with this magazine, the really good thing with this magazine, is anybody can write an article for it. So anybody and any article relating to Kudo is welcome. It has to be Japanese, but just that whole, like, you can be a contributor too kind of thing is, I think it's such a cool idea. This magazine is excellent. Like, you should write for it if you're interested in Kudo. So yeah, people, they just didn't realize such a magazine existed. So yeah, I think it's awesome.
So approaching the end, I do want to get into the rapid fire questions, but the first question, last thing before we get into those. Now that you've, in the last couple of years, you did Kudo, and now you have Yumi and Zen, and you have the sport yabusame, and then doing this work on the magazine. Like, your life is very much Kudo now.
Yeah.
I know that your kids are relatively young still, but have they started noticing something or expressed any interest in following in their mom's footsteps?
Yeah, they can watch me. Actually, we do Zoom practice sometimes for Yumi and Zen. So my son likes to watch us via Zoom. And then he'll just be like talking to me while I'm trying to shoot. And it's really like, anyway, so my kids, they know what I do, and I've brought them to practice before. That's the other good thing about our dojo, is you can bring your children with you. And they are interested to a certain extent, but not like, I really want to do it. So Kudo, usually you will start at the youngest is going to be the first year of middle school. Most normally you start the first year of high school in Japan. So it's more like an adult focused martial art. However, yeah, especially my son, he's interested in it, and yeah, they think it's good and they think it's nice, but I don't know, like, I would like it if my son started eventually. It'd be really cool to be able to shoot with him. In my home dojo, we have like a husband, a wife, and like a university-aged son. They're like, the three of them, they go to competitions and they're like winning everything. They're so awesome. It's like family Kudo rocks, man. It'd be so cool to be able to do that. But yeah. My kids, yes. I do get time for them sometimes. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So just to wrap up this part of it, So I'm just going to ask like there's a list of questions.
Sorry, yeah, sure.
Some of them you answer, but I might have some other ones. So
Okay.
yeah. But the first one you should know. What is a quote or a proverb that you like or you live by or you think about when you practice?
Oh yes, okay. I like, so it's in Japanese, but it is nana korobi yaoki, which is falling over 7 times and getting up 8. So just to summarize it, it's never give up. So you're gonna fall over and you just keep getting up again. So even if you don't get something perfectly, especially like a shooting technique, or you're having a day where you're just not hitting the target at all, you just keep persevering. So it's just having perseverance and just keep on going, because every little bit helps. Your keiko will help you little by little. And yeah, it's just don't give up. So that's quite like an important one for me, I think.
Do you recall any particular event where you needed to think about this, or if not, then like how often do you experience the need to remember this quote?
At the time when I was in between dojo, there was about a 6-month period where I had finished one beginner's course before I joined my home dojo that I have now. I wasn't shooting and I had no place to shoot, but I really wanted to keep going. And yeah, I felt kind of down at the time. I was pretty sad because something was missing in my life, which was Kudo. However, I didn't have access to a dojo and I was ungraded, so I couldn't go into a dojo and just shoot by myself. So yeah, it was one of the times when I felt like I didn't want to give up. And yeah, everything worked out in the end though. New Zealand helped me meet my teacher that I have now. So yeah, it worked out.
What is your favorite stage of the Hasetsu?
So, well, we have, so yeah, Hasetsu is is one part I probably wouldn't choose. However, I really like Zasha Taihai, which is we sit down and knock our arrows and then stand up to shoot. So it's a lot of sitting and standing, and we use Zasha Taihai when we're having Shinsa, which is examinations. And we perform it at the dojo that I'm going to currently. We perform it every time a new person starts their keiko. So we'll all do it together, and it's like a dance, if I can say it like that. Everybody moves in time with the other person, and it's performed really slowly, and it's so relaxing. It's just yeah, it takes, just to shoot one arrow, it does take a very long time. However, that whole process, it's just something that I really enjoy. Just concentrating on each individual movement, each angle, like each feeling. It's something that I it really calms me down, and I really love it.
I have to say that is a really great answer, because so many people, when they think about Kyudo or when they practice, they just focus on shooting and hitting the target. And yet, there's such a huge thing about this martial art, about Kyudo, where they say, well, every martial art, they say you want to try to improve yourself, your in character, so you can be in better harmony with others and with society.
Yeah.
And Taihai is a big part of why Kyudo is because you have to move in timing with other people, no matter how big or tall or short they are than you. Their personality in terms of their speed, but everyone, when they're doing Taihai, they have to go together. So there's this forces you to adapt, to be able to be flexible with others. And so I thought that was a great response.
Thank you so much.
So going to something simpler, what is your comfort food? What is something that when you're feeling down, you're like, I need to eat this, or when it's your birthday, you think, I need to treat myself?
It's really good. I didn't think about it. Comfort food. It's really tricky to get in Japan, but I order it off the internet, and it is candy called licorice. So I know other countries have it There's a really, really, really yummy New Zealand one that I order from the internet, and it's just like a taste of home. So I used to eat licorice a lot in New Zealand, and that's just a comfort food for me, I guess.
Okay. And last question before we wrap up. If someone were to open up your YouTube homepage, YouTube recommends videos to you based on other things that you've watched before, what would people see? What are things that YouTube would recommend?
Like really trashy gossip, like spilling the tea. It's either going to be that, it's either going to be like celebrity gossip, or it's going to be like Kudo, high school, taikai, or type competitions. It's going to be like Meiji Jingu shooting ceremony. It's going to be like Nyuha, Heikiryu, how to do like their special shooting. So it's either going to be like trashy celebrity gossip, or it's going to be like really Kudo. That's probably what gets recommended to me the most, I think.
YouTube engine is probably having these weird things like, what's going on? I have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to wrap this up, is there any message that you want to give to the audience? Anything you want to say in closing? Just that if you discover Kudo, if you see a picture or you see a video and you decide like you'd really like to try it, I'm always available to help you find a dojo in your country, in your area. Like I can search for you. And if you live in Japan, I will search in Japanese for you. So I'm all about supporting people to find a dojo in their area if they're interested to start. So anybody can message me anytime, and I'll do my best to connect you to a place where you can learn. Well, thank you so much, Jessica. This has been very super interesting to hear your story. And thank you so much for doing all this promotion for this, because Kyudo and a lot of these Japanese martial arts, they tend to be a little hidden, and it's kind of not on purpose, but because practitioners are supposed to be humble, they just don't feel like they should be promoting it. But like, how else are people going to find out? So it's great what you're doing. So thank you so much. Oh, thank you. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, awesome. Oh, it's better than I thought. Thank you so much. It was great talking to you. Thank you so much, Patrick. Sorry, I can't speak English properly. Oh, that's great. All right. Hope to talk to you again soon. Thank you. Bye. Bye. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode, because we have a lot more exciting conversations to share as we explore the world of the traditional Japanese martial arts. The Inside Look podcast is made possible by our patrons over at Patreon, so if you enjoy this work and want them to continue, please consider supporting us for as little as a cup of coffee. There are many more ways for us to work together by connecting with us on Facebook and Instagram at tokushikai.canada and subscribing to our monthly newsletter at subscribe.tokushikai.ca. Until next time, thanks for listening.